Okay, so welcome to our session talking about FinOps. A little bit of background on leading edge data. So leading edge data were founded by myself and two other partners in 2018. We've been in the industry a very long time now, and we are really focused on unlocking value in data for businesses. So why we worked in data? So we're very passionate about data and how it can provide value to our clients, and we always like to think about working smarter, not harder. So we're focused on data strategy, data management, data security, data engineering and DataOps, and analytics and machine learning. So I'll start with a bit of an overview of what we call a modern data stack is the current term, but maybe a modern cloud analytics platform. We believe that the foundations are key to making a success within an organization, and FinOps is part of that approach as well. So I like to use the coin from replication to visualization with a bit of machine learning on the end, but collectively there are a number of capabilities that make a modern analytical platform or a modern data stack. And I think FinOps is part of a discipline now that's becoming more and more relevant to ensuring that you're operating efficiently and within budgets and costs, and recharging those costs appropriately within your organization. So getting those foundations right in the first place is really essential. So what is FinOps? So the term FinOps is relatively new. It's an emerging professional movement that advocates collaboration between DevOps, DataOps. I use the terms collectively, and the finance team. And the results of initiative can drive data-driven management of infrastructure spending, can lower the economics of your cloud consumption, increase cost efficiency, and ultimately providing a profitability of the cloud environment as a business unit or as a cost center. The days of having just one big bucket of money to run your platform and getting that budget allocated can be a challenge. So FinOps helps address recharging appropriately the business units that actually use that data within your organization. So what are the FinOps phases? And this is from the FinOps Foundation. So this is it's like the standard phases that would form your FinOps program. So the first thing you need to do is provide information, inform. So ensuring all stakeholders have the information they need. And I like to use the term observatory. I think I'll bring this up a little later. Having an observatory that doesn't only focus on what's running and how it's running, it's the cost of its running as well, and who's using that. Once you're able to get that information, you can start to optimize. You can start looking where you can reduce cloud costs. It can either be for financial purposes, or maybe you're just not doing things the correct way, and you've got some inefficiencies of how you're doing things. And we touch on a little later of what areas you can use to help optimize your infrastructure spend. And the next one is operate. So once you got the information there, once you're able to look at the optimization, it's how you can operate and put the associated business processes around it that can help scale, and the adoption of the FinOps approach within your organization. So why FinOps was born? Back in the day when you had to, I think it was on premise, you normally had to do a large capital expenditure program where you would get the requirements, you'd look at the potential volumes of data, you'd look at the potential users, you'd do a big cost justification, and then you'd go and get the associated budget for maybe 3 to 4 years for the program to to fund that initiative. And I think what cloud introduced was the pay-as-you-go model, or pay per compute. Spin up things, spin down things, but you didn't need to go and get that capital expenditure. It all becomes an operational expenditure, and they're much harder to control because how projects move very quickly. Teams have ability to spin up new environments, and the focus hasn't always been on the associated expense. I like to use get your bang for your buck. So they weren't not getting the right amount of benefit for the associated spend. And it leads on to the accountability of spend. So if teams are aware that it's not free, spinning up in a Snowflake term, spinning up a 4XL or a 6XL, I think was one of the largest ones they have now. We have bigger ones coming out soon. If that person that's spending it, if it's not being used appropriately, someone's paying for it. And having accountability of that spend is critical. But at the same time, you can overbuy. So you don't want to pre-purchase too much compute or fund an initiative with too much money, because you'll get wastage. You won't get the good use out of it. But on the other side is, if you don't size it accordingly, when you have to go back and increase it, if you've got too much controls in place, it can slow down projects, hampering the ability to progress and get that business value that we need. And I think the old solution of just throw more compute at it has been a common problem in recent years, rather than looking at optimizing code, rather than looking at maybe using spot instances or other alternative cheaper mechanisms. It wasn't always the first thing that was done. Normally it was, I'm just going to go throw more compute at the problem, which the problem doesn't go away. All you're doing is just paying more money. And I think going back to the thing I mentioned earlier about inform, there's a big movement to having a term of an observatory. So most people think of observatories as looking at what's run, when it run, failures, when your particular data sets are ready. That's one aspect. I think the other aspect is the associated cost, and giving that observatory or that view of the associated cost will allow businesses to have that accountability of the spend, because they see the associated cost, but also actually charge that cost back to the business unit that's generating it. I've seen in so many places where to go and get your OPEX budget for the year, so that comes out of a central pot, and then if one team is using 50% of it, but it's being split across the whole organization, that's not really fair and appropriate recharging. So having an observatory where you can demonstrate who's using what, making them accountable for it, ensuring that your OPEX budget is rechargeable to the business units, is why FinOps, one of the reasons why FinOps was born. So I like this little post I did not that long ago, but the cloud and software as a service provided us with infinite compute and storage, but it comes at a cost. The art of optimization of code has been lost over recent years. So people don't look at maybe the query profile. If things are being shut down after they're not used, having wait times or restart times where it gets shuts down when it's not being used, and then it only gets spun up when it's needed. I think sometimes you do have to throw more computer, and sometimes you need a quick win. But if you're doing that quick win, always look for optimization opportunities in parallel. So too many quick wins. I think quick win on quick win on quick win equals big failure. So looking to do these things in parallel. So whenever you're doing some tactical stuff, make sure you're looking or addressing that to the strategic roadmap of your organization. And yeah, reviewing query plans, reviewing the audit logs, reviewing the cloud cost before going and adding more compute is best practice. And I think FinOps it helps drive that. So yeah, why FinOps is so important. So in this cloud era, I talked about, it's pay as you go, and readily scalable. It comes at a cost. You've got the cost per query, the cost per processing, or another variant model. You need to be able to know who's using it, why they're using it, and are you getting the right value from it? I mean, a lot of clients make data products now. Those data products they're selling to their customers. And if you're selling something to a customer, you need to know how much it's costing you internally. And unless you're able to have that visibility of what that's costing, you don't know how much to charge your client for that particular service. So yeah, having that focus on that cost is really essential in this current climate and environment now. So how pay-as-you-go approaches make spending far more dynamic, but it's a new challenge to leaders to help manage those budgets, the priorities, and the efficiency. Making sure you're spending your money in the right way. And I think this is where I lead on to next, is how FinOps relates to DevOps and DataOps. Is this is collectively everyone in the whole development life cycle's responsibility. So data engineers need to understand about the associated costs. They also need to understand how they can recharge it. So understanding how business units are using an organization, understanding what cost centers they're allocated to, and then you can use tagging. You can have naming conventions or something that makes it very clear to understand who's using that compute, what department it is, and what cost center it relates to, so they can be recharged appropriately. No one wants to get their whole OPEX budget you got for the whole year to be gone after 3 months. It's a very uncomfortable situation to go back and say, I want more money, we've run out of cash, or we've gone over budget. The finance team are going to know why you've gone over budget and how much more you need. Are you going to come back and ask for more money again in 3 months? So it can prevent those difficult questions when you're trying to justify the associated spend of your platform. And whenever it comes to budgeting, the teams will all, different business units will say, well, why am I paying this much? And if you're able to evidence this is why you're being charged, because this is how much you're using, it goes back to that accountability piece. So now they will be accountable. They'll be much more proactive. I think another thing is that how agile works and lots of development, unless you have a cleanup sprint or deal with your technical debt, you're going to build up more more debt within your infrastructure and not getting the associated benefits from that spend. So I touched on it slightly a minute ago. What's FinOps got to do with DevOps or DataOps? So, like DevOps, FinOps is a transformational culture and practices. It's bringing that collaboration between the teams. Oh, sorry, I'll go back one. Sorry. It's getting that collaboration between the teams. The outcomes from that, it's better communication between all the different parties that are involved. But the responsibilities of FinOps are quite different. It's not just about communication and collaboration. It's about where DevOps is all about the software development, FinOps is focused on the cost management and optimization. So the different lenses on the same problem. Engineering and finance collaborate to ensure there's sufficient visibility and cost. That goes back to that observatory thing I mentioned. So having people to see this, information, and relate it to their projects they've got or data products they've got, is going to help to drive better decisions throughout the company. So a little bit of a summary. We've gone through some topics, quite a few areas, but a big summary is with the current position of the economy, inflation on the increase, companies need to embrace FinOps. They need to promote accountability of spend and provide the ability to allocate costs appropriately. Without using FinOps, it's very difficult to recharge. As I mentioned, no team wants to pay for the whole of your OPEX budget, unless they see they're getting their bang for getting the appropriate benefits from it. If you go and use your OPEX budget before the end of the year, you may not get more funding. Companies are tightening their belts. So, when you go back and ask for more, they say you haven't got any more. That means new projects may not be able to be released or promoted, which you won't stay competitive. And if you don't stay competitive, you'll go bust, or you won't be operating anymore. So I think the strap line here is, embrace FinOps or go bust. Without the correct cost controls, and I think that way of working internally, that everyone feels that they are accountable for it. It's not just the finance team has to worry about it. That responsibility goes from the engineers to the product owners to the project managers, right the way up the food chain. So if anyone's not really monitoring their cloud costs at the moment, or you haven't got appropriate tagging or can link back the spend to who's actually using it, you need to start doing that now. So embrace FinOps or go bust. So anyone wants to contact me, here's my details. I'm on LinkedIn as well. You're going to find me on there. I've got the link on that, but you should be able to find me quite easily. Happy to collaborate on this topic. It's a very hot topic now at the moment, and I hope you enjoyed the session. That's it. Thank you very much.